The Indo-Pacific is on edge after China issued a direct war warning in July 2025, targeting the Philippines and Taiwan. Beijing is furious over their growing military cooperation, seeing it as a threat to its regional claims and interests. This partnership, both U.S. allies and strategic locations, is viewed by China as part of a broader American strategy to contain its power. The warning has rattled the region, raising fears of conflict in the already tense South China Sea. China's message is clear. It will not tolerate what it sees as a hostile alliance forming on its doorstep. The U.S. is central to this drama, with strong defense treaties in the region, especially with the Philippines. As Manila and Taipei strengthen military ties, China feels increasingly encircled. The timing is crucial. Both the Philippines and Taiwan are ramping up defenses, creating a perfect storm for rising tensions. China's warning signals a willingness to act if its red lines are crossed. The entire Indo-Pacific is now on high alert, watching to see if diplomacy can cool the situation, or if the region edges closer to conflict. The stakes are global, as any escalation could draw in major powers and disrupt international stability. For now, the world waits, hoping for restraint. But the message from Beijing is unmistakable. The limits have been set. What happens next could shape the future of the region and beyond. The South China Sea has become a flashpoint, with China's war warning marking a dangerous escalation. Chinese ships have used water cannons and blockades against Philippine vessels, asserting control over disputed waters. In February 2025, a Chinese Navy helicopter came within 10 feet of a Philippine patrol plane over the Scarborough Shoal, an incident that could have ended in disaster. Both sides see these encounters differently, but each one risks sparking conflict. Philippine President Marcos Jr. has vowed to defend his country's sovereignty, while Defense Secretary Teodoro warns that any Filipino killed would cross a red line. The U.S. is treaty-bound to defend the Philippines, making every incident a potential trigger for wider conflict. Experts now call the South China Sea Asia's primary flashpoint, even surpassing Taiwan in urgency. Every close call, every warning, carries global significance. The world is watching, knowing that a single misstep could ignite a much larger crisis. The stakes are higher than ever. The region stands on a knife's edge. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade. Over $3 trillion in goods pass through each year. Any conflict here would disrupt shipping lanes, sending shockwaves through the world economy. The sea is rich in oil, gas, and fisheries, fueling fierce competition among neighboring countries. China claims almost the entire sea, using its 9-dash line. But these claims are hotly disputed by the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. An international tribunal rejected China's claims in 2016, but Beijing ignores the ruling. The U.S. and other powers insist on freedom of navigation, regularly sending naval patrols that anger China. The result? A complex web of overlapping claims and military posturing. What happens here affects everyone, not just those on its shores. The South China Sea is where global interests collide. Its future will shape the world's economic and security landscape. Facing growing threats from China, the Philippines and Taiwan are forging closer military ties. Both are under pressure, Manila from Chinese ships in its waters, Taipei from the threat of invasion. Their cooperation includes intelligence sharing and coordinated defense strategies, aiming to deter Chinese aggression. The Philippines is modernizing its military, investing $35 billion and acquiring advanced U.S. missile systems. For Taiwan, partnership with the Philippines breaks its isolation and strengthens its southern flank. Their goal isn't war, but credible deterrence, raising the cost for any Chinese move. Defense Secretary Teodoro says it's about balancing diplomacy with strength. This new alliance is a direct response to China's pressure and the reason for Beijing's latest warning. Together, they hope to make China think twice before acting. China is responding to the Philippines-Taiwan partnership with both harsh rhetoric and aggressive actions. Beijing accuses Manila of acting as a U.S. pawn, and insists disputes be settled bilaterally, rejecting outside involvement. On the water, China's Coast Guard and maritime militia enforce its claims with blockades, ramming, and water cannons. Risky military maneuvers, like the near miss with a Philippine plane, send a message of resolve. China warns that U.S. arms sales, like the Taiwan missile system, could trigger an arms race. Despite a 2016 tribunal ruling, China continues building artificial islands and military bases, cementing its presence. Beijing's actions are designed to make its control permanent, regardless of international opinion. The message, China will not back down. The U.S.-Philippines alliance is a cornerstone of Indo-Pacific security, anchored by a mutual defense treaty since 1951. The U.S. promises to defend the Philippines if attacked, even in the South China Sea. Recent high-profile meetings and military support underscore this commitment. The U.S. is helping modernize the Philippine military, supplying advanced weapons and training. This strengthens Manila's defenses and builds a network of capable partners to balance China's rise. But U.S. involvement also raises the stakes. Beijing sees it as containment and responds with its own provocations. Every move is watched, every action interpreted as a challenge. The U.S. role is double-edged. It deters aggression but also fuels the cycle of escalation. The risk of miscalculation grows as both sides harden their positions. For Washington, supporting allies means walking a fine line between deterrence and provocation. The region's security depends on careful management of this delicate balance. The world is watching to see if the U.S. can keep the peace, or if its presence will spark a wider conflict. The stakes could not be higher. The South China Sea is a high-stakes tightrope. One misstep could trigger disaster. With so many military ships and planes in close quarters, the risk of accidental conflict is real. A collision or deadly incident could be misinterpreted as an act of war, setting off a rapid cycle of retaliation. The Philippine red line is clear, but in a crisis, intentions can be hard to read. Poor communication between militaries only heightens the danger. A split-second decision by a local commander could spiral into a major conflict before leaders can intervene. The U.S. Defense Treaty adds another layer of risk. Any incident could draw in superpowers. The world is holding its breath, hoping leaders can avoid catastrophe. The margin for error is razor-thin. Is war in the Indo-Pacific inevitable? Experts are divided. Some, like Philippine Defense Secretary Teodoro, believe war is unlikely. China has too much to lose and prefers psychological pressure over open conflict. Others warn that constant close encounters and military buildups make accidental war a real risk. The region is caught in a security dilemma. Each side's defensive moves look like threats to the other, fueling an arms race. No one may want war, but a small incident could ignite a conflict that spirals out of control. The real danger isn't a deliberate attack, but a series of unintended escalations. The Indo-Pacific stands at a crossroads, with the path to war paved by miscalculation. The world hopes leaders choose restraint over confrontation. The Indo-Pacific faces a defining moment. Cooperation or a confrontation will shape the future for billions. The U.S. and its allies are building partnerships for a free and open region, while China pushes back to assert its influence. This clash of visions is at the heart of today's tensions. A conflict here would devastate the global economy and cause immense human suffering. The risk of war between major powers is real, with unpredictable consequences. Preserving peace will require careful diplomacy, crisis management, and a willingness to cooperate even amid rivalry. Leaders must strengthen communication to prevent accidents from escalating. The world's prosperity and security depend on wise choices in the months ahead. The Indo-Pacific's future, and the world's, hangs in the balance. The hope is that wisdom prevails over war.